All right. Are you serious? Are you serious, guys? Gold gone wild. It really has. And I mean, I can't believe it even. But this was a man that said it would. And so
Yeah,
joining us from noblegoldinvestment.com, folks, you know who he is. Colin Plume. Colin, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's so funny that we're having this perfect timing. So I have gold and silver for all my three children set aside, and I was
Okay.
showing them like some gold coins, and they were like, This is $2,500, $2,600 for this." And my oldest son is like, first thing out of his mouth was, "How many packs of Pokemon cards can I trade for this?" And I go, that's not a good idea.
That's not a good trade.
We're gonna keep the gold. We're not gonna trade for. But I said a lot. I told them it's a lot of Pokemon cards, but the value, will go down pretty significantly. Unless you pull one of those, $1 million cards, which nobody pulls.
Right.
But yeah, he was just blown away. I showed him just a little bit, his little portfolio, and he's like, "This is worth, it's a pretty significant amount," and his mind was blown by it. It's just
Unbelievable. Well, you're teaching them the value of precious metals, and you're just teaching them the value of money and how to manage that. I'm sure.
100%. Yeah, no, I'm teaching about profit. I'm teaching about all the things that they don't want to teach you about in school is what I'm teaching my kids. There's no other way to do it. They're not going to do it in school. The stuff that I've learned in business, if I had known at their age, at a young age, and he's ready. He told me he's 7 years old. He wants to start a business. I mean, he's ready.
I love it.
So
I love it.
Yeah, it's gold is finally caught up to what we had been talking about because last time we spoke, we were talking about food costs, we're talking about energy costs going up 15 to 50%. Yet gold hadn't really made its kind of initial run, and UBS is saying gold could double or triple now.
Wow. You mean on top of this today?
Just under 2,400.
Yeah.
2,380, 85 today. Yeah. I mean, they are predicting, UBS is predicting that it could go up 2 to 3 times because they believe we're going into a real recession. I think we've already been there, but they're predicting that. They think, you're going to have negative real rates out there in the market. So, inflation is going to continue to stay pretty high and banks are going to be where they're at. And so, they're predicting that, even though gold is, if you look at the charts, it looks like it's heavily bought, but there's still such an unbelievable demand from China has bought gold 18 months in a row, the People's Bank of China.
Really?
The physical demand from the East is massive. They're just continuing to buy gold. Obviously what's going on with BRICS, that they want to have a currency backed by gold. So the demand has not diminished by any means, even though on the technical charts, it looks like, wow, there's been a lot of buying. There's not a lot of shorting, which you would see in the stock. If everything was so overbought, you'd see tremendous shorting. Like you see with some of the big stocks out there with Tesla and Nvidia and a lot of these stocks, you'll see this massive selling of shorts. We're not seeing that in the gold market right now, even though there's been tremendous buying, obviously over the last 3 to 4 months. And for people don't remember, I mean, we were sitting, gold's up almost 20% from last year. Silver obviously on a big run also, but a lot of it has to do the narrative of what's happening with the dollar. What's happening with our debt, and then just world insecurity in general. Currency insecurity is very high right now. People are not comfortable with our currency, and so that's why they're sliding into gold.
So this confluence of geopolitical issues, the dollar getting weaker, the inflation rate, does that play into it as well?
100%. Yeah. Absolutely, because you're looking at what's your real return on your money, and that's the thing that people are looking for. The Fed was trying to push this agenda of lowering interest rates this year, but the last report came out that inflation was higher than expected. So I don't know if a lot of people believe the genie's out of the bottle, right? That they can't kind of slow it down. anymore. And, unfortunately, that's going to make it difficult for them to lower rates because the Fed, and I always say this, they have a mandate to go back to 2%. If it doesn't go in that direction, they can't lower rates. They're not allowed unless they go that the new norm is 3%, which I've been saying for a long time. I believe it will be, but they're stuck. They have to go ahead and continue to hold rates or even raise. I saw some big people speculating that they might even raise rates again, which would just decimate the real estate market. It's already in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, if inflation went up to 4 or 5%, they'd have to raise rates again, even higher.
Absolutely would have to. And then again, that is putting such a crunch on Main Street, and because the salaries aren't going as quick as the inflation is. And let me ask you, you mentioned BRICS, the BRICS nations and the central banks. They're both, they're buying up gold as fast as they can get a hold of it.
Correct.
Is that because the BRICS is trying to become a new currency, a gold standard currency, and get away from the petrodollar? Is that shift taking place or trying to take place?
Yeah, the yuan is the most traded with Russia. It's the number one currency. The BRIC countries, like everybody's trying to make their currency the number one currency because they know the dollar is destined to fail. It's just a matter of time. So everybody's positioning themselves. So similar to what they did with the euro, the BRIC countries are like, how do we come out with a currency that would be really strong? Well, these countries in the BRIC nations have been the heaviest buyers of gold for many, many years. The West is not buying gold. It's these BRIC nations that are really buying gold. And they've allowed a few new countries to come in. So these are all heavy, long-term thinking governments, not short-term thinking governments. I think that they're planning to go ahead and come out with a currency. They've hinted at it a number of times that it'll be backed at least partially by gold. But it would make the most sense. There's no doubt that a currency that's backed by gold would be the strongest currency in the world. No one can argue it. There's no way to debate it. Everything else is just paper. Everything else is not backed by anything. And so, you do restrict yourselves because you just can't expand the way that you can right now. But actually, we've tried the expansion way of doing it, and look where it's gotten us. Our government can't balance a budget. We're going through every 2 months. Our national debt goes up by $1 trillion. $1 trillion every 2 months.
That's crazy. You
can go to the debt clock. This is all out there. This isn't.
Yeah.
So
you think about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is gonna. I think it's called ZIG, as how they're gonna, what they're gonna refer it to. But Zimbabwe, brand new currency coming out in about a week maybe. It's gold based, which is the best thing they could ever do for that country.
Yeah.
And you think about America, we had a gold standard up until about 71, 72.
Correct.
And now we're this fiat money. It's not backed by gold. We're juggling. We're quantum easing. We printed so much money. So can we back out? There's no way to back into gold as a gold standard, is there, Colin?
I don't think at this point we'd have enough gold to back all the currency that we have out there. To go back to that currency, the Zimbabwe, the ZIG. Horrible name, by the way. It sounds similar to cigarette. It sounds like cig.
Oh, it sounds like a cig. Yeah, it's a zig.
Yeah. You want to? How many
zigs?
How many cigs you got? I don't know who's in charge of that department, but I think they could have gone in a better direction. But big picture, what they're doing is smart. And Zimbabwe knows they had a currency in 2008 to 2009 that inflated to oblivion. I even have it. I have it on my desk. I have a $1 trillion note from Zimbabwe from 2008. That's not even worth. It's pretty. It's pretty. It looks like it's gold. It looks really pretty, but it's worth like 10 cents. So they are thinking the right way, backing their currency in the right way. Everything is moving to alternative investments right now. People that don't realize that it's the revolution has happened. It's not the traditional way of making money. The only way you're making a lot of money in either the stock market or some of the traditional ways is that if you have insider information, if you're able to figure out what, Congress is figuring out, you make money. But for everybody else, the returns are not what they used to be, and everything just gets eaten up in fees. I mean, a lot of these 401ks, these mutual funds, people don't realize you're paying out 1% to 3% every year, regardless of profit. That's the beauty. That's why I love what I do at Noble Gold, is that we make a fee when you buy the metals. When you sell it back to us, we don't charge any fees. And people right now have made a lot of money with us. They're very happy. A lot of them are still holding on, but some of them needed money and they were able to sell back their gold at a substantial profit. One thing that I would say I did want to talk about is just what's going on at pawn shops.
Okay.
A lot of people have been talking to me. Pawn shops have just been flooded. And, a lot of them are selling either jewelry that, makes sense to go to a pawn shop, but, or some of them are selling this Costco, Costco's selling gold. Costco's jumped on the back. That's great. They're selling gold, but they're not buying it back. And so people don't realize there's no regulation on buybacks of any metal. So unless you're going to a reputable firm like us that actually needs the metal and we're going to resell it to somebody else, a pawn shop, I've seen the pawn shop offer 30-40% below what I would offer on the same product. And they can, there's no regulatory body that is watching them. So people really have to be careful. They see these things that are so good, it's too good to be true. And then they're like, I got to dump this, gold's up, but they don't realize that they're not getting the best value. You want to go with a reputable dealer that is in the business of doing this, because we need that gold and silver to sell to somebody else. The pawn shop, they may not even need that gold. They're just going to take that profit. They may not even keep it. They may just sell it to another wholesaler and make their spread. So you got to be careful about these things. Costco was selling a lot of gold. People are saying, is it bad? I'm saying it's great for the business, but when people want to liquidate, they got to be careful too. And that's why you want to go with somebody that really does it. Costco's great. They're in the business, but they're not in the business of selling it back and giving you a great price. They just want to dump it. And they're using it really just in a way to garner more attention for themselves. Right. I don't order a pizza from McDonald's, right? It's certain things you got to do. So it is important for people to look at those things when they're. So
you're saying, because your company, which folks at noblegoldinvestment.com, go to noblegoldinvestment.com or go to pastorpaulgold.com. There's the phone number, 877-646-5347. Look, I've been with Colin a long time. Watched his integrity. Watched how he's taking care of customers. It's unbelievable, but I've been representing you now for about 10 years, and I've not even had not one person call me and say, "Oh, Begley, why are you representing this guy?" This is amazing. This is what I'm saying. You guys are reparable. And that guaranteed buying back. So you can run out here, you're saying to Costco, and maybe buy it cheaper or buy it cheaper over there, but they're not going to buy it back at the valued price. You're guaranteeing that, and that's huge.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that they're going to sell it cheaper. What I'm saying is that there's just nowhere to sell it back to. That's the big issue. You want to have a place that you can sell it back and get your money safely. And because we sell bullion, coins, and bars all day, we want that inventory back. So we're going to resell it to somebody else. That's the problem with the pawn shop, is because you go to a pawn shop and they're like, yeah, we'll buy it back. But they have to think about how long they're going to hold it for. So they have to and I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong, because there's no rules against this. But if they have thousands of items on the shelf, they got to make sure that they have liquidity there. So they're going to offer a spread to protect themselves. And that's in essence why they offer such a low buyback on a lot of the items that you're selling back to a pawn shop. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're doing it, is you want to have a two-way street, because, look at some of our clients. They bought gold at $1,500. It's at $2,400. They needed it. We have clients in their IRAs. They're very happy with the return. They need some money. We buy it back. We get them cash. It's a big part of the process with us. And as it continues to go up, you really want to have that place, that safe place that can do that for you. With all the scams and everything that's happening out there, you want to make sure, and you want to check out the company that you're doing business with, read our reviews. The difference between us is, like, I'm out here. I understand my reputation is on the line, so I get out there and I get in front of people because I want them to know we're a family business. Yep. And thank you for the compliment. We do care a lot about our clients, and we want them to have a good relationship. but we also know it's a big decision. So we spend time with people to go over these things. It's not just like a click of a mouse kind of purchase.
Right. So let's say someone, and I encourage people watching right now to pick up that phone and call. And maybe you got a 401k. They got a 401k, Colin, and they're saying, okay, I'm tired of this not being in control of my own destiny.
Correct.
They should pick up the phone and call you. And will you talk to them about gold and precious metals, Bitcoin,
Correct.
and then maybe some stock? I mean, will you walk them through?
Yeah. So, I mean, we help you move your money from an old 401k into a self-directed IRA. And so you become in control of your IRA, which, the great thing about a self-directed IRA is you're the boss, and maybe the worst thing is you're the boss, right? Ultimately, you're in charge. Most of our clients, they're fed up of they're paying the 1% to 3% fees in a 401k, and they're fed up of not having control. So we help you move into a self-directed custodian. You get control. You can do some in gold and silver. You can do some in crypto. You could sit some in cash. You could go into stocks and bonds with it too. But the way it's set up with us is that you have that flexibility to do it the way that you want to do it. And I think that's what most people want. People are still to this day confused that they think if they buy a mining stock, they have exposure to physical metals, or if they have an ETF, gold ETF, you're just buying a fund or a share of. You're not actually owning it. With us, you actually own the gold and silver. It's yours. It's not shared with anybody else. You own it directly. It's one of the few assets you get direct ownership of. And so at retirement age, you're above 59 and a half. You want to take some of that gold and silver as your distribution. You can do that. You can't take a piece of your Ford stock as your distribution.
Right.
These are real metals, Pastor Paul. And so, and I think
tangible. It's a tangible, actual asset.
Yeah. The trajectory is, I think we're in a new normal in terms of rates. I think we're in a new normal in terms of the economy. And I think that, where the stock market is, big companies, it's getting a lot harder in this country because of all the regulation, because of all the rules. It's not the way it used to be, where it was really, we were so poised to allow big corporations to grow. We've really kind of pulled that back in a lot of ways. A lot of companies are moving overseas. They're getting out of the US. So I think that people are concerned about the stock market and what they're getting there. And so I just say, listen, we're a piece of the puzzle. If you want control, if you want something different, give us a call and learn about what we do. But, to go through this year, we have an election this year. We have a lot of big changes potentially happening. And I think that's going to affect investments. And that's the thing that I look at. The things that are troubling to me is, you have these committees now that are telling companies how to invest. There's all these rules. And I don't know if you saw, there's these lawsuits out there because they want all these DEI regulations where they want them these big corporations focused on sustainability and environmental issues.
Yeah.
And BlackRock came out recently and just said, our job is to provide profit to our clients. That's our number one job. And there's all these regulations in terms of corporations that are quite unbelievable. It's quite scary what they're requiring. They're requiring banks, before they give a loan to a farmer, they want to see what kind of carbon emissions the farmer is putting out there. And it's already hard enough for a bank to stay in business. I mean, we know regional banks are struggling. They're in a bad position. So you add this extra layer where they have to do this due diligence on a farmer, which we know, listen, if they have cows, there's carbon emissions. That's it.
Right.
We don't need to do a study on it. We know, we've done those studies already. So it's becoming more and more difficult for a lot of these big corporations to make the profit that they've had in the past because of all these layers of these, in my eyes, onerous regulations. They're not set up for growth anymore. And so I think that's why people are starting to pull away from some of the traditional things, mutual funds, because they just see this problem is not going away anytime soon.
Yeah,
it's becoming a real issue. Also, and if rates stay high, Pastor Paul, that means corporations are buying at a significantly higher percentage, which is making it also very difficult for them. They have to change their whole models. If they can't borrow money at 6 to 7%, if they have to borrow at the new rates, which are 8 to 10% or even higher, their models are not. They don't work in terms of profit. So that's why a lot of people are really concerned about recession potentially, and also a stock market pullback.
Really are. They're concerned about this economic shift in Bitcoin. Just throw this out there. I mean, I understand that they're about ready to do a halve, and that has to do with the miners. Not
Correct.
So, what, in your opinion, how do you see that working? Do you see Bitcoin, which has done an incredible rise here in the last 3-4 months?
Yeah.
But do you see it continuing after this to maybe take a bounce and go up to 100, or is it going to top? Are we going to topple? What's your thoughts on Bitcoin?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, in essence, the miners should make half, right? Per Bitcoin that they mine. They're going to make half the amount of money. So in theory, it should go down. I think with the news and the way everything is set up nowadays, everything is built in. So I think the rise before the halving that we saw was already built into this halving happening. And I see a normalization happening with crypto where, I don't know where the floor is. I know Bitcoin's in the low 60s right now, but I think that now that we've exposed Bitcoin into ETFs and the mass market can buy it, I think we're not going back down to 15,000 or any of those kind of numbers. I think you'd have to have basically the whole market collapse, and I think we've seen that this market is probably going to be around for the foreseeable future. I do think that one should be careful of not the major coins. You want to look at, there's probably 5 to 15 coins that have some utility, some technology that's good, and they also have enough of a market where they can sustain themselves. You just got to be careful with some of these smaller altcoins that can be easily manipulated by large corporations with a big sell-off. I mean, that's, as much as I know that Sam Bankman-Fried was a crook, he also was a victim of Binance's really smooth sell-off of their coin. I mean, it would have happened eventually that this would all came out, but he definitely was part of the reason that they moved so quickly in terms of going out of business, is that they sold off FTX's coin, and that really created a rush and they lost a lot of cash. So you just got to be careful with those things.
That move they made exposed then his criminal activity he was doing beyond the numbers,
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. They should have put him away for 50 years. I think they were pretty lenient in terms of my eyes, because 25 years for a guy like him probably gets out in 10 to 12, if he survives. But I think that, that market, that's what I've been saying in the beginning. These alternative investments are not going anywhere.
Right.
I think that, as much as mainstream media has tried to bolster your traditional stocks and, these real estate funds, these old school investments, it's not working. I mean, these alternative investments have become the main. If you look at profit zones over the last 3 years, you look at gold and silver, you look at crypto, you look at alternative investments have been the biggest winners.
Yes, they have.
So
yes, they have.
I don't think that's going to change anytime soon with this really wonky market that we're in. I think people are still going to be unnerved by that. And I think the fact that now investors have more accessibility to these alternative investments is only going to bolster the price.
So this is an election year. Right. People are very frustrated with this high interest rates, especially. We're going into this. Does it make a difference who wins? What does that mean for gold? Do you see gold? I mean, it's $2,300 plus almost $2,400. Do you see gold going to $3,000 an ounce?
100%. Yeah, I absolutely see it going there. I predicted 2,300. 4 months ago. I saw it going there. I thought it would be like second or third quarter this year. I didn't expect it to happen this fast, but we've obviously had a lot of economic turmoil. And then just, I think people have woken up in terms of our currency and they just don't feel comfortable. You also have a lot of the institutional buyers, not just the central banks, which are obviously big buyers, but you see institutional buyers jumping into the gold market like never before. Companies like Bank of America saying gold's going to hit 3,000. So a lot of players, UBS. I mean, how does
that drives the price up when the big guys go in and buy a power buy, right?
Absolutely. And I think gold has really lost its speculative sort of idea that it's more of just like a safe haven, which is something that I believe since I've been in the business for the last 15 years, that it is the truest and best safe haven, because it's in demand. It has, they use it in jewelry. They're using it in your body, dental and everything, heart monitors. Central banks are buying it. So they know it's a hedge. I mean, it's really the perfect investment in that it has a limited supply. I mean, there's so few things out there that are really oil would be another thing that would be that, but a lot of things are moving away from oil, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to move away from oil, whereas they can't really replicate what gold does. Unlike the, diamond industry has totally had an upheaval because people finally realize that it's okay to buy a fake diamond. It looks exactly the same. And yeah, you could spend $30,000 on a 2-carat diamond, but you could get that same one for $5,000. And, as long as you don't allow your wife to go to the jeweler, she'll never know, right? Just kidding. No,
Right.
so, but I'm saying, like, there's not a lot of things in the world that can't be replicated like gold can. And so in terms of your question, I don't think it's going to matter who's in office either way. I think that we're going to open things up. I think, my opinion is that if Trump wins, he's going to open things up and try to get rates a little bit lower to expand. And that will mimic, in my opinion, what happened in 2009, kind of the quantitative easing element, where the market's going to really start to move and things will happen. But also you're expanding the money supply, which is good for gold. I think if Biden gets reelected, people are going to be very fearful and they're going to move into gold. So I don't think it's going to matter each way.
I see. Gold is always going to be that fallback either way.
Yeah.
Because it's consistent. It's a biblical. I always say it's a biblical currency. I mean, it's been around forever. It's going nowhere.
Correct.
It's staying right here, and it's been on a nice steady rise. But here recently, exploding. Gold gone wild, folks. Colin Plume is with us. He's, of course, noblegoldinvestment.com. Again, they do a wonderful job. They'll help you. You can pick up the phone and you call them at that number there, 877-646-5347, and say, hey, I think I need, and you might take a look at your retirement funds that are sitting there and making nothing. And you may want to diversify that. Okay. Or maybe your 401k, you want to roll that into a gold or silver IRA. Let Colin and his team help you. They'll work with you. They take their time. They build a personal relationship with you, and it makes a difference. And Colin, I think, you nailed it. I remember you. I remember interviewing you and you saying, you watch, gold will go to 2,300. This is back when it was like $1,700 an ounce.
Yep.
And you kept saying, don't worry, it's going to go. It's not going backwards. It's going to keep going this way. And
I told my wife too. She didn't believe me either. But
okay.
I think that's just natural. 11.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I'm believing you now. I'm a believer now. Okay, Colin, I'm a believer.
We're coming up on 11 years of marriage, so I think that's it's natural that she just turned me off. But
that's right.
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
mean, it's not that I'm like I knew of anything. It's just it's the fundamentals, right? It's just the fundamentals that the inflation of everything had pushed the price of everything up, and I still think if you really look at inflation and how much gold gone up, it really hasn't moved that much. So that's why, UBS saying it could double from here. It's not unrealistic. I don't think people think that's a crazy number. And I'm seeing a lot of, big gold. And by the way, the billionaires, the Paulsons and these guys, they've been calling this for a long time. I mean, you've seen these guys put tremendous amount of their net worth into gold. I mean,
Yep.
It's not just central banks. I mean, you're talking about billionaires buying gold.
Yep.
And they have access to everything out there in the world. We sell the hedge fund guys in New York. We have a lot of those guys who are doing hedge fund stuff, getting risky returns, ups and downs. They make a little bit, they put it on the side, they put it into gold. So it's something for everybody. I think it's just a way to take a little bit of that risk off the table. That's why people are doing it. And I think the number one thing, if you read our reviews, is that when people do it after, they feel better. They feel like they made the right decision. So it's been great. I'm so happy for our clients that believed in what we were doing and that they're in this, tremendous profit position. And, a lot of them are selling now. They just need, everything got so expensive. They need the money.
They
right?
need the money. Right.
And so, as much as I wish they didn't sell because I think we got more room, like we did our job, we got them there. And now they need to pay for the roof or the car or whatever, they got to fix stuff. And now they have some value that is sitting in their accounts to cover it. So, and that's the beauty of why, people get into precious metals. So
yeah, it's wise. It's a very wise decision. It's a safe way to save money, and then your money grows over time. And then when that time life cycle hits that point where you need some extra funds to remodel the house, or take that vacation, or the wedding of your daughter's wedding, you're there. Okay, you've got that extra money. It's there because you put it in gold, and it actually did well for you. And so Colin,
that's what India's been doing for a long time. I mean, Indian wedding season is a known thing in the business.
Is it really?
People give gold for wedding gifts. I mean, that's, they created the gram gold bar was created for the Indian consumption, because there's poor people there that would literally, that's all they could afford was a gram, which now a gram's, worth like $80. But at one point it was worth $5. And they would just buy it. They put old money away and they just sock it because they wanted accessibility. They didn't have hundreds of dollars at that time. So, but those people that bought it at $5 are very happy, obviously, that the return that they got. So it's something that the East knows and has understood for a long time. I mean, they've understood the value of the yellow metal, and they've continued to buy it. So, yeah, I would just say anyone that's, looking to get for some information, it's been on your radar for a while. We have a lot of great information, guides, emails, and you can just call and talk to a live person and get questions answered. You're going to talk to someone that's been trained by me. They own gold and silver. All of our customer service reps, they are all in the business. They all have some of their own. Some of them have a lot of gold and silver. I've seen some pretty amazing safes with some of these people there. But they're just going to take their time, answer questions, send you out information, and then ultimately you'll decide if it's right for you.
And, also, folks, if you qualify with a gold or silver IRA, 401k rollover, here's this 1/4 of an ounce gold coin that Colin's giving away to people. I mean,
I remember when we started doing that, Pastor Paul, years ago, I was giving those away. They were worth like, $200. Now they're worth, $650, $700.
I mean, that's crazy. This coin's worth $600, $700.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let me just say this. You talk about giving gold as a gift, wedding gifts. They brought the Messiah. They brought Jesus gold. Okay. I mean, so from the very beginning of this whole thing, God has said the gold in the land is good. You can read that in Genesis. It's one of the things he did in the creation. And so it's perfect. Work with it, secure your portfolio with it, have confidence in it. And you got to have somebody you can work with to help you manage that, or at least, to hold on to it safely and then sell it back to you when you're ready. That's Colin Plume. That's noblegoldinvestment.com. I really mean that when I say that, folks. And so I want you to make that phone call and talk to them and see what you need to do, where you're at in your time financially in your life cycle. Colin, what other advice would you give people?
That's it. We nailed it today. We got it all out. It's always a pleasure to see you. It's fun. It's entertaining, and God bless you and everything you're doing. And I love being a partner of you, and it's been fun. And every time I enjoy our conversations, and it's been an amazing ride. It's just a beautiful partnership that we've had. So thank you to you and your show and your family, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you. I am too. All right. We got to keep them more often. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to talk to the folks over there to get that done.
Cool.
Colin, I appreciate it. You're a busy man. Thank you so much. I love the relationship we have, and I believe God will continue to bless you because you bless the kingdom of God, because you're good to the people who are winning souls. God will keep blessing you and your company. No doubt about it. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor Paul.
And folks, there you go. That's Colin Plume. Go to noblegoldinvestment.com or pastorpaulgold.com. But pick up that phone and call him at 877-646-5347. Tell him Pastor Paul told you to call. All right. God bless. See you, Colin. God bless.